everyone, and welcome to Nerdalism. We are joined by Mark Richardson.
Hi.
You might recognize him as being part of some pretty cool stuff, especially anyone who's a fan of. Oh, that's my audio too. The Power Rangers and all sorts of other stuff that is recently come to Netflix. So we'll talk a little bit about that. And thank you for joining us. This is my co-host, Aubrey.
No.
So if you guys have any questions, feel free to comment in the chat, and let's get started. So we'll get to the big stuff, the because I know a lot of people are going to be wanting to talk about Power Rangers, but there's been some other stuff that you've been on. Like Lucifer. I'm a huge fan of Lucifer.
You're on
Such a
Lucifer
great
as well.
that actor is amazing. He's such a sweetheart.
Tom
What a great
Ellis.
guy to work. Yeah,
Correct?
he's fantastic.
Yeah.
He was just. I get man crushes on these people. You're working with them, but I'm blown away by just how nice they are. And he was one of the nicest guys I've ever worked with. Really good guy.
What's really funny is that before Lucifer actually came out, and I had no awareness that it was a comic, and I did a role playing game series about the gods, and Lucifer was a titular character, and it was like to a T Tom Ellis. So when it came out, I was like, how dare they? And then, of course, it's funny because of course Neil Gaiman had already done a series.
I heard that they're making another Constantine. And Lucifer is in that world. It would be great to have Tom Ellis as Lucifer.
I hope
I would
he comes
love
back
that.
as it. I love
He's such
him.
a great guy. He was just tired of the show. That's why he left. He's the one that left. I know the show was canceled. They brought it back, and he was just, I'm just done with this. But he was a very nice guy.
But the arc
was
great.
Seasons. Yeah,
mm-hmm.
I think it was like 5 seasons or something. Like canceled at 3, brought it back for 5.
Right.
So did you get to know Tom Ellis on the set? Like you were saying that he's a nice guy.
Yeah, he would talk to every crew member. I only did the last season of Lucifer. I wasn't there. The prop team had quit, and I want to say that we had just came back from working the first season of. I think it was we were on Dead to Me, and we got a phone call saying the prop team just quit Lucifer for the last season. Do you guys want to do it? And I'm like, and we did whenever when they were shooting in Canada, whenever they did pickup shots in LA, we'd worked with them, but I didn't get to really know them. And then when the prop team, like the last season, they called us in, which was cool. And the prop team that was on that show, everybody loved them. And it's always scary when you're going on a show, and they were really good. It was, I mean, you love Lucifer. They were the prop team for that show, but they couldn't handle, I think, the COVID regulations. And I hadn't been on the show for 10 minutes of filming before they shut down the film, and the showrunner comes screaming at me. And I was like, oh my God. Because we had, I don't remember what actor it was now, but we had him tied to a chair, and we had him gagged. And when they'd say cut, I would get the gag off him and stuff. Well, she comes screaming at me going, it's not my job, but you need to come up with a way to tie him up without you being here. And I go, magically? And I've only been here for 15 minutes now, and I'm being screamed by the showrunner. And I'm starting to understand why the prop team quit. And luckily the AD said, there's no way unless you want to hire somebody else to come and tie him up. He has to tie him. And she goes, it's not my job to figure it out, but figure it out. And she stormed off. And as she's leaving, I go, excuse me, I'm sorry. I've only been working here for 15 minutes. Just how am I doing so far? And no one laughed. And so I was like, oh, I'm in trouble. But she ended up apologizing to me. She goes, we had just started COVID. This is a new prop team. And, in her head, she just thought there should have been a better way, but she realized there was no other way I could do it. And she apologized. And after that, everything went fairly smooth. But yeah, that was my first experience on Lucifer.
It could have been just the pressure was really intense. Sorry, go ahead, V.
Yeah.
I highly agree, because they had a lot of closed sets and a lot of regulations like that. Like I guess it was a limited
Yeah, this
the
was
young
in
set?
Lucifer's living room, where we first did that at, and but
Oh.
uh, he's the kind of guy that, like, I'll be out the prop truck working on something, and he'll walk up and go, "Hey, how's it going? How are they treating you?" You know, and it was not just me, but everybody. He was personal, and everybody thought, "Wow, I'm friends with it," you know, because he had that kind of impression, like he laid that kind of impression. He made it enjoyable to work on a show that it was under a lot of
Mm.
scrutiny, and like we have these COVID guys who are nice guys, but back then it was their job to keep you 3 feet apart. So if you like, if I have to talk to the prop master, they'd come up and go back you up and stuff like that. And God forbid you not have a mask on or something. It was very it, you're trying to do this and do your job. It made it very difficult. But because that show was so enjoyable, it was easy to do. All those shows, Dead to Me, I'm thinking whatever, The Old Man, of course. All these shows that have been COVID shows, because the show is so good, the people are so good. They've made something that should be miserable easy because of the attitude,
Hmm.
the way people are, and stuff like that.
I've been on a few sets, and yeah, the regulations are pretty steep, but they make sure everyone has a test
I,
beforehand. But then you're also supposed to be putting on masks the whole time unless you're in scene.
the
So
the
it's
last
pretty interesting.
The last show I wrapped 2 weeks ago before my surgery was a show called The Innocent, and it's a
Mm.
net or Hulu. I don't know what Hulu net, but it was a
One of
really
those.
effed up storyline. It is about a Mormon family that another Mormon family's father seduces a 12-year-old. Not
Oh,
only seduces
geez.
a 12-year-old to have sex with him, seduces the wife and the husband. I mean, it's a crazy, crazy thing. But it was, and
Oh.
I wish I knew. I'm horrible with the actors. You guys know all these people, but um, uh, the COVID people said I didn't have to wear a mask outside if we were outside, but when we're on stage and in the vans we had to wear masks. But all the
Hmm.
other, it's been let up. Although we still get tested 3 times a week, but it
Hmm.
has lightened up a little bit, so that makes it easy for the show.
And the innocent, because I did have a couple more questions. We'll come back to Lucifer, because I did have a couple more questions before we move on, about, because I know that the set, they utterly destroyed the set. And so we'll come back to it. You actually were shooting near where Alec Baldwin had the incident with Russ, wasn't it?
Yes, that's what everyone knew.
Yeah, our prop truck was parked in front of the church where Alex Baldwin had that accident.
Oh
Um,
boy.
I, I, my the prop master Scott Buckwald, they called him up and said they were doing a pilot for a CW, and they, of course, they're like, all the weapons have to be accurate to that time period, and they're really going to be focused on precision and reality and stuff. And so I'm like really nervous because I'm not a Western guy. I do cop stuff. I did Queen of the South. I did
Hmm.
you know drug cartels, machine guns, and newer weapons. And they're talking like cap and ball type of guns. And they go, "Do you have a problem shooting at Bonanza Creek?" And I loved Bonanza as a kid. Well, sure. And I didn't know what they were talking about. And then the prop master goes, "No, we're going to be the first team to shoot anything after Rust." And yeah, we picked up at that. Our first day of shooting was right in front of the church. And although
Wow.
the cast and the crew and everybody was very politically correct around everything. Nobody made jokes. Nobody. But what I did notice was there was set dressing for that movie. They just got up and left. There was set dressing that left there. When they shut that thing down, they said everybody go home. And
Hmm.
I talked to people, and you're probably going to hear other people fight me on this one, but because of course I want to know as an armorer, as a guy that does weapons, what the hell happened? This should never. The Crow should have never happened. Brandon Lee should be alive and well and making really good
I
low budget
agree.
movies right now. But from what I gathered, and
Hmm.
if they're pretty tight lipped, I honestly believe they were shooting live ammo at lunch and shooting cans and stuff, and they got back from lunch, set all the guns on the table. Nobody cleared it. The girl who was supposed to be watching the guns was in the restroom, and the AD who should never touch guns, but knew that she was over her head, and should have never had the job, got the gun because Alex wanted to practice with it. They gave him the gun, and the gun had a bullet in it, and he shot, and killed that woman. It's just the DP. That's horrible. There's such a perfect storm of mistakes that they made, starting with one having live ammo anywhere is you
Perfect
can't do
storm,
that.
yeah.
I mean, that should be a criminal defense to bring live ammo on set. Um,
Hmm.
Not being around your weapons and not having a lockbox for your weapons, letting the crew members leave it on the table. An AD should never touch anything of yours. We don't even let them touch newspapers. No, because they want to. Hey, I'll have this actor do a cross with this newspaper. No, you don't touch our stuff. It's not your job. We're props. We're going to do that. And for him to pick up a gun and not even check it, and what it is on revolvers, revolvers use dummy bullets when they're not firing. So when you look down the barrel, and this is why Brandon Lee is dead, you could see that there's bullets in the gun. So we use dummy bullets, look exactly like bullets. So, but the only difference is you could hear it. There's like a BB sound, and the primer of the gun firing of the bullets over and over again has been dented in. And you could look at it if you're an idiot without, I dry fire it, I check it. There's a ton of stuff that we do, and now a ton more because everybody thinks the gun's loaded. Everybody's against guns now because of this, but none of that was done. It was just a mass collection of stupidity, and and we were very, very. But uh, going back to the fact that they wanted these historical correct weapons, we brought in a guy, and he was professional. A gun handler, but he was also did shows. He did Wild West shows, knows everything about guns, and he
Hmm.
kind of like, yeah, I was like, have at it. I'll move chairs today. Here, you do it. And he was brilliant. And of course, we had no accidents. I don't think we didn't fire any blanks though. We had real weapons because we of the type of weapons we had, but they didn't want to fire blanks because of the situation. But
So
we
I
had
have
no
a, I have a,
problems.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. I have a couple of questions. In the case of Brandon Lee, wasn't it that it was that it was because it was lodged in there, it was clean, they thought it was empty, or they thought it was a dummy blank, but it had a bit of like a wedged, like some of the, because from my knowledge that blanks have, like, they do have gunpowder, but they have like paper filling. They don't, it's not just to make the sound, it's not like it actually is a projectile, but if it gets lodged in the gun, it can become projectile, and
It
it
goes.
can become deadly.
There was an actor
So,
named John Eric Hexum who took
mhm,
I think it was a 44 Magnum blank, and
mhm.
and was playing Russian roulette in between takes, and it's a blank gun and blew out his brains. Percussion on blanks,
Yes, I've heard of that.
it's you still have, you have wadding in revolvers.
Yes.
You have wadding that pops out in automatics. They're crimped, but when they blow open, the tips of it still come out of the barrel. I mean,
Hmm.
but with Brandon Lee, what I believe happened and I've talked to everybody that I was involved in. Um, the prop master wasn't available. It was a girl that I guess was her. Maybe he was working with her boyfriend, and she took over to help out. And they did a shot with the gun, where the camera was looking down the barrel, and once again you could see that there's bullets in there. She didn't have any dummy bullets, which is insane. But
That is insane.
that's the reason why things like this happen. But the stunt guy goes, "Well, I have a 357, and we could take one of these spent blanks, and we'll just hot glue the tip of the bullets off the blanks, and we'll make a dummy bullet." Which is true. You can make a. It's fine. It's spent. It's a dummy bullet.
Hmm.
But when they cleaned the gun out, they didn't check it, and the tip of the bullet was lodged inside the
Oh,
barrel. So when she put the
yeah, that's
blank
what I
in it,
heard.
now she's got a bullet, and nobody, not the AD, not the DP, not the obviously not the prop person, knew to tell the actor, unless I'm wrong. Because some people say, "Oh no, he knew. He was just nervous." You don't point the gun at the actor. A camera has one eye.
No.
You cheated over. There's no reason to point this gun at this actor. But especially if you're going to fire it, Brandon Lee comes in, he's got his groceries, he's all squibbed up, and the guy pulls up a gun and fires it right into his chest. Brandon Lee goes down to the point where they yell cut. People are clapping at his performance while he's dying. And it was just once again a perfect storm of stupidity. I
Yeah.
make mistakes all the time, but there's so many things that I have to do that will stop me from making, God forbid, any type of mistakes like that. And because of that, of course, I'm constantly checking the blanks. I'm if someone's firing a gun close range, I'm constantly there, right next to the guy. Um,
Hmm.
I don't know if I could even talk about it, but on Queen of the South, I thought I was going to be fired because one of our main actors, and I loved, once again, and it wasn't Pote, folks. One of my main actors didn't agree with the director, and we're in a carport with full of 9mm blanks, and he says, "I'll fire right here." And the director's going, "No, I need you to run down this carport around the corner, and then fire." He goes, "Well, my character wouldn't do that." And you get directors that this is their first time there. And you have actors who've been doing this for 3 years and they know their character better than anything. And
Hmm.
she goes, "Well, when you see how I edit it, you understand." And everybody has their safety gear on, and you know everybody has earplugs in, goggles if they're close to the firing, and they go action. And instead of turning and running, he looked at the director, and I felt it in my bones, and just lifted the gun up right in the middle of the crew and fired the gun. And I walked up to him and I said, "As long as I work in this industry, you will never fire a blank firing gun again." And I walked to the AD.
Hmm.
I go, "I have a rubber weapon for this guy. You're gonna have to CGI the rest of the night." Called up the prop master and go, "Hey Scott, you better get another weapons guy in because I'm pretty sure they're gonna fire me." Went to bed. We shot our stuff with a rubber gun. Went to bed. Woke up I shut my eyes. It was an all nighter. Shut my eyes for about 15 minutes, and woke up to Fox Safety, and I explained my story. And then Scott called me, goes, "They ain't gonna fire you, but they might fire him." And I like this guy, and he's a great actor, and he's got a huge following. And I didn't want him to get fired, but yeah, as long as we worked on there, I hope it's policy. He will never be able to fire a blank firing gun again. It's not safe, and he probably is the safest actor in the world now. But
Mhm.
I
Hmm.
would be,
It was stupid.
but
Yeah.
if he does hurt somebody, that's on me. That's on me. So yeah,
So yeah, and going back to the whole Rust thing, what you have described is consistent with what I have been, because I've been keeping up on it, and I've actually fired a gun on set before.
nice.
And it's yeah, it was for a sizzle reel, and I was playing a cop, and I ended up having to fire a gun. And one of the things that the prop master, who's also the director, he because he did a lot of armory stuff, and he's got a lot of costumes and a lot of guns. Like that's what he does when he doesn't do directing. And he was very adamant. First, he showed how to do the safety, and then he showed, like, he was like adamant, like, doesn't matter if this is just has blanks or is completely empty. Never pointed at
Weapons always
anybody.
loaded. Yeah.
You have to, yeah, you have to act as if the weapon is always loaded, and that
Even
was
rubber.
something that he
I,
did.
I've
And
I've
yeah,
had background
absolutely.
actors thrown off offsets because they have a rubber gun, so I think it's okay to run up to people and act like they're shooting it, and I
Right.
just go ballistic. And I'm not that guy. I want to be the wacky
Mhm.
fun guy, but when that I can't be.
Yeah.
Where was the armorer when he hurt himself? Well, he was acting like Mickey
Hmm.
Mouse jumping around in the corner. I you know I'm I enjoy doing it. It's creepy as hell. You really got to make sure everybody's safe. But I'll tell you
Yeah.
something, folks. The first thing people watching, oh, why fire blanks then? Let's CGI it. I watch Sci-Fi
You
Channel
gotta
when
have
they
the.
fight the giant crocodiles. I'll tell you something. It looks to me, and maybe it's just me. It looks horrible when these people fire CGI blanks. They sit there going boom, boom, boom.
Mhm.
Watch people when they're firing blanks. They're concentrating. There's pressure. When the weapon's fired, the gun goes up by itself. All that is intense, and
It's natural. Yeah.
it's natural, and it's you know God give me, it's beautiful. When you have
Mhm.
these people who go blank, 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 you can tell they're toys. To me, you can tell they're toys. I know the Rock's
They're
video
cheating
though,
it.
but
Yeah.
Yeah,
fire
and
blanks
it's
in.
important that they're really cleaned, and also that that's why it's important that you have somebody on set that's like, this is a cold gun, then they check it. But
Mhm.
it's not the actor's job to check it,
Not at
except if
all.
something goes wrong. And that's a lot of people are blaming Alec Baldwin. They're like, well, why didn't
Yeah.
Alec Baldwin check it? And it's like, on set, you don't know. That's not your job
So many times I've had
to check
actors
it
go, Mark,
as an
I've worked
actor.
with you for 3 years. I know the gun's safe. And I go, yeah, we still have to clear it. It's part of my
Yes.
job. This is
You're
Yes.
still
part of
human.
this is what I
You're
have to
still
do.
human. Yeah.
And Alec Baldwin, he was into his character. The only thing I blame him for is the fact that I believe, and this is just me, I believe that where they got the weapons was from the girl's father, and he probably
Hmm.
made some kind of sweetheart deal. I want my daughter to start learning this. Bring her in, and I'll get you the guns. And he's like, "Oh, that was a bargain." I think it was something like that. That he should be
Yeah.
bitch slapped for, because that's the
It was
reason why
stupid.
this person's dead. Not an actor needs to trust me.
Yeah.
When they're doing anything, when they're drinking milk, they got to trust me to know that I'm giving them. Most of these people
Yes.
they have to have like coconut milk, or they need to know, they need to trust me that I'm going to give that to them, that the milk's going to be sterile, that it's going to be clean, the glass is going to be clean.
Hmm.
They need to trust me, and they do.
Yeah.
And if they don't trust you, they're in character and everything else, and it screws them up. No, that
So,
Um,
wasn't
do
his
you
mhm.
think
fault.
that when the AD called out a cold weapon, do you think that he was necessarily trying to make the armor? Because I heard that there was a lot of tension between the two, and that because she was this new person coming
Uh,
in, that they kind of were crueler to her on set than they should have been, because that's what she's alleging, and that they would like take her guns without permission. They would do things to her. Do you think there was a bit of maliceness on the first AD's part to be like, well, if something happens, it'll make her look bad?
well,
Not necessarily the intention was that someone was going to die on set, but
like I say,
that she was going to look
an an AD, once
terrible.
that's the problem with props. We move your
Hmm.
chairs, but we'll teach you how to tear apart a Beretta. Um, uh, I
Yeah.
I want to think that the AD was just a moron, and that he was trying to help her out. He just kind of Alex needed a gun. He wanted to get she wasn't there. He just handed her a gun. This is a non-union. Once again, non-union folks,
Non-union. Yeah.
Yeah.
non-union every
This is
time.
why
You
union is
know,
so important.
this is why union's so important. And I'm not talking about you guys doing your low budget thing with ketchup and plastic knives in the corner to make your YouTube movie. I'm talking about they had the money to make it a union crew. Bring in professionals. A professional. I don't care who. No one's going to be intimidated, because she must have been
Hmm.
intimidated by this AD at one point, or she just so desperately needed help because she was inexperienced. You know, and I don't know. I tried, like I said, I was there talking to everybody that worked on the show, and I had a couple of people go, "Nah, AD was a moron. He was an idiot. I've worked with him before." But
Hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah.
the fact that he gave an actor a gun, period, my head would
Hmm.
have exploded. I would have got fired if he had any kind of pull, because I would never allow an AD to do that. You just don't do that. It's not their job, and they should never, ever, ever, ever touch props, more or less
Yeah.
weapons. That's crazy.
Right. I would have been like, I would have put that on him. I would say that
Well,
he is responsible because he took the props from her. I do think there are failures on her part too. Don't get me
yeah.
wrong.
Oh, yeah. No, I think, but
But I
she
do
was
think the fact that
inexperienced. She
he
was
took it,
non-union.
she was not there, that he took it, did not clear it with her, and then told Alec that it was a cold gun, which three people said that they all heard him yell "cold gun."
Well, she shouldn't have been
Um,
able. The gun shouldn't
but
have been just sitting there anyway. Who
I
leaves a
agree.
gun on
Exactly.
we have
I
lock
agree.
boxes. That's what you lock that stuff
Yes.
up. When they call lunch,
So my
if
director, yeah.
we
Hmm.
don't get to go to lunch. We need to lock everything up, make sure everything's safe. A lot of times it goes back to the safe on the prop truck.
Hmm.
Then we go to lunch, and they wait on us. It's a
Yeah,
safety thing. Yeah, I think it's just like I
I
say,
agree.
non-union, and I blame the girl for taking the job. She desperately wanted to start working in the industry. You saw photos of her. She was pretty, but she's doing those photos with the gun.
Yes, it's
She was
ego.
excited
There's a
about
lot
it.
of
She wanted
ego.
to do it.
Hmm.
But I think that they walked all over her. I don't think she had
I
the
agree.
balls to tell the AD, hey, don't touch my stuff.
I work with blades. I work with swords, and I agree with you completely. I mean, first, like safety has to be completely like completely it has to be first and foremost, or else people can get hurt.
Well,
And
this is the
it's
third
really
tragedy like
important.
this that because of inexperiences and stupidity. And what upsets me is they're just let's just CGI it. I was on Duster, J.J. Abrams, big budget show when this happened,
Hmm.
and we had a scene where a guy gets knocked back with a revolver, and the revolver gets shot in his hand. Just 38 quarter load, nothing. But they go, no, we're going to CGI it. I don't want a real weapon on set. We need a rubber weapon. That's And then when I went on the Old Man, I don't know if you guys ever seen this. This is Jeff Bridges and John Lithgow. I was
Oh yeah.
praying that they're going to say, oh, we're just going to see. No, but they let me do what I need to do. Watch
That's
that show.
awesome.
Watch the gun battles. It's intense. It's really well done. But you know, there's so much safety protocol, and because we're prop guys, we have the limelight on us because of this. But where's that stop when we have cars flipping over each other? We have
Hmm.
actors doing high falls. Where does it stop? Going, oh, that's not safe. That's not safe. I guarantee you that the stunt coordinator on Rust was not some guy whose father worked as a stunt coordinator and was doing a
I
job,
agree.
or the pyrotection, the guy doing the pyrotex, was some guy who goes, hey, I could do this. They get somebody off the street to do that, and you have a fatality, and people are going, it's the gun's fault because of that. And of course,
It
because I'm a
wasn't.
gun guy, I'm going to be upset about it. Let's
Well, a
get
lot of
off.
people aren't
So
blaming the gun. A lot of people are blaming Alec. Do you think Alec has any? I mean, you were just saying that you didn't think
No, no,
he
he's an
deserves
actor.
any of
He was an
the
actor at
backlash.
that moment in time. As a producer, hiring that, yes, he's an idiot
Yes,
for that. But
I
they're
agree.
they're not looking at it that way. They're looking at, hey, I can get a. They weren't thinking that way. They need to think that way now. You know,
Mhm.
hopefully
so
they will.
you're all so you're frequently you do prop and weapon. Is it frequently like that? Does it do prop and weapon? Is that something that a lot of people do, or is that kind of rare?
No, I don't know if it's rare because a lot of people just don't want to deal with it, and they'll bring in an armor. And I'm licensed through ISS, and you know, I've been called just to do guns. You bring a prop master, they do to do specialty things, and I think that's probably where a lot of And we have armor. We have an armor that we call all the time when we're doing a lot of guns. And he's
Mhm.
wonderful. But normally props calls for weapons, and we have to deal with it. If it's something dangerously exotic or something, I might not do it. But if you look at Queen of South, every week they tried to find a greater, bigger gun, and I'm doing nothing but AKs, MP5s, every weapon you could think of. I'm firing it and stuff just because they liked it, and I enjoyed it. We didn't have any issues with it and stuff because we were professional about it. And but don't get me wrong, I don't want to. I'm a big bad gun guy. I'm scared. I'm nervous when I do this. But it's still it's part of my job, and I enjoy doing it. But I'm still very, very, very serious when it comes to guns, and you have to be. But it's the
Mhm.
same way with blowing up cars or doing pyro, doing stunts. You can't just bring some guy in that's not experienced. You got to get who you think's the best.
Mhm.
But
Highly agree.
Totally
And
agree.
uh, for props, and I'll actually I want to circle back to Lucifer real quick. So you did the last season. What was it? Because you were responsible for helping them destroy the set utterly. What was that like? I have to ask real quick.
yeah, we had a it was a blast. Anytime. But the problem with that is always okay. Let's let's go again. So once we tear everything up, blow it up, and everything. If they need it, oh, there was some PA standing in the corner drinking coffee. It was in the shot. We have to do this again. It's going to take hours. It took hours to reset
Mhm.
that stuff. I don't think we had problems though. I think And I think the stunts on Lucifer were spot on. They were really good.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
Yeah,
it
the
was,
choreography was amazing on it.
it really
Now,
was.
did you coordinate the choreography, or was that somebody else?
Somebody, I was all the director,
That's what I thought.
and
Okay.
a lot of times, a lot of that stuff was our stunt coordinator, who I really didn't get to know that well. But he when he's flying around on cargo bins and stuff like that, that was all
Hmm.
stunts. But yeah, they were pretty dialed in. I didn't. All I did is handed them the weapons, made sure it was clear and safe, and made
Got
sure
it.
where they fired the weapons was safe. So.
Hmm.
There's actually I noticed that there was quite a bit more weapons than usual in the last season. I did notice that a little bit. There a couple more guns, a couple more shooting than
Yeah,
usual.
yeah.
Hey V, real quick before we continue, let's acknowledge our people that are watching
Oh,
us.
David Meiser already left,
David.
but
Oh, okay.
welcome, David, and let's create.
And
I know them from another project that I worked on, but thank you guys for watching.
yeah,
I'm
thank you
not
for
sure,
watching.
I'm not sure who the second, but yeah, thanks everyone for watching.
Wanted to make sure that we acknowledged them and said hello real quick. Sorry, Mark. Please.
Hi, everybody.
Hi. If you guys, again, if you have any questions, if you're just joining, this is Mark Richardson. He
Yes.
worked he works on a lot of Netflix stuff that has been released and is coming out. You said The Innocence is going to be coming out soon.
I had a
Hopefully
question
it's
about
coming out
that.
soon. Yeah.
Yeah,
The
I
Old
have a
Man.
question.
Watch The Old Man.
The Old Man, yeah.
Watch The Old Man. Mark, is The Innocence based on a true story?
Yes. When I read the
Yeah,
script,
I
I go,
thought so.
nobody would. This is ridiculous. Nobody would do that. This is ridiculous. This is stupid. And then I
Because
found
I
that.
watched a true crime thing. That's why I had to ask. Because I was
Yeah,
like, wait, is it
I
based
watched the
on that
documentary.
thing?
Oh
Go ahead.
my
Go ahead.
God.
Sorry. Didn't mean to.
She was the girl that this happened to was on set. It's her. This is her
Wow.
story, and she was on set a couple times walking around. Yeah, I like fantasy, you know.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But by the way, that I love the picture you used of me and Kane Hodder. That was from Mad Monster convention stuff. But
Awesome.
Tom Savini did the makeup. Oh no,
Tom
yeah, I
Savini?
think Tom did the makeup for that, and it was. But yeah, it was a great photo session with King Hodder. I last year or 2 years ago now, I got a phone call from a guy called Sergeant Horror. He's a pig guy, and he has a website. And I was doing some stuff with him, but he asked me if I wanted to do investigation at a haunted hotel in North Carolina with Kane Hodder, who was Jason from 7 to 10. I was like, hell yeah! And we stayed there for a week and investigated ghosts. And it was really creepy and cool. I loved it. It was a lot of fun.
So have you worked with Tom Savini on projects?
I have never worked with Tom on projects. I've worked with him through Mad Monster, but yeah, I've worked with K and B. In fact, I was working on Piranha 3D out in the middle of Havasu one night at 3 o'clock in the morning, and Robert Kirkland from Walking Dead was telling me about The Walking Dead because they hadn't come out yet, and I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm a huge zombie fan. I well, when I was working for Troma, that's all I wanted to do. I wanted to do zombie movies, and they're like, nobody watches zombie movies anymore. And even when Robert was telling me the stuff, I was like, kind of passe. I didn't say that, but I was like, oh, this is gonna be cool. Zombie show on TV. I just thought, it's not gonna be that good. And boy, was I wrong. But yeah, it's like 3 o'clock in the morning, and at 3 o'clock in the morning, we were setting up a scene where Richard Dreyfuss's body floats up from a dock, and the actress who plays the cop falls on him. So it's like I say, 3 o'clock in the morning, and I hear a voice behind me, and I hear, "You ever seen a ghost?" It was Ving Rhames. He sat there for about an hour and told me ghost stories while we were doing resetting the body and stuff. Piranha 3D was a trip because it was 6 day weeks and like 120 degrees,
Mm-hmm.
and it was
I've
just a
heard.
pain in the ass show. But I have a lot of fond memories from that one. That was good.
Wow.
I
What was a favorite memory of doing
yes.
something like that?
Of any show like that?
Any show, but you said you had fond memories, so
Of Piranha
Yeah, what was your
3D?
favorite? Mm-hmm.
This is kind of ridiculous, but it's funny. Um, Me and my he's my buddy, but he's also my boss, Scott Buckwald. Although he did work for me on Bad Santa 2. Uh, we were at a restaurant in Piranha, in Havasu when we were doing Piranha 3D, and he goes, "Wow, what are we gonna do? They they lost that piranha, that male piranha." And I'm, what? The male piranha. And he's like going like this, and I look around, and everybody had been listening to our conversation because these are the film people there, And I go, "Oh yeah, that's bad. I mean, a male piranha is going to mate with the fish here. They're going to have like this weird crossbreed of piranha fish. Hopefully they'll catch them by tomorrow. But how do you catch a piranha in the lake? And we're like, ha ha ha, we'll laugh it off. 2 days later, on the news, the production company had to tell. I shouldn't tell this story now that I think about it. Folks, I'd like to say this. I'm on painkillers. I just had a knee replacement. I'm on painkillers, and I think I drink alcohol, so I'm a mess. But 2 days later, the production company had to go on the radio and say, "We are not using real piranhas. We're using CGI. There are no piranhas in the lake." People are freaking out, thinking that we're releasing piranha in Lake Havasu.
Oh my God, I've heard this story.
A week
Someone's
later,
told me this story. I didn't know about this part though, that it was from
oh,
you, but someone had actually told me this story. This is so funny.
a
I
week
love
later,
this.
we're at the restaurant eating it at the same place, and these two fishermen will come up to wanting to kick our asses, and we're like, and he goes, it's your film company that released all those CGI piranhas." I'm like, "No, they're CGI. That's right, they're CGI." He thought the CGI meant some kind of tropical Amazon piranha. Yeah, but hopefully it got cleared up. But I think to this day they probably talk about, "You better watch out for them piranhas. There are piranhas in this lake." But that was a fun time. I got a lot of those stories.
That's
Best
right. Watch out
practical
for them
joke
CGI
ever.
piranhas. Watch
Yeah.
out for them.
That's I heard someone talk about this, not like but like it was like third person,
Oh, really?
sort of retelling of this story. Yeah, and it's so funny because yeah, they were talking about how it got rumored that there were these piranha in this lake.
Scott,
CGI piranha.
and I bring it up to Scott, and Scott goes, "No, that was you. That was you." I go, "No, it wasn't. You like doing this whole thing. Look at the people, and these people were like looking at us, and I was just kind of going along with it,
I bet it was like
That's
a
so
PA
funny.
that got all excited about piranhas in the lake.
Yeah.
Real piranhas, guys. This is how stories get spread around. Yeah, I've heard Tom Savini is a real practical joker as well.
He's a
On
good
set.
guy.
And
He owes
yeah, that's what I've heard.
everybody he owes everybody $10 for some reason. Everybody seems to owe Tom Savini, but he's a good guy. He's a great talent. I was raised on splatter films, so he was
Hmm.
my hero for decades. I find it hard to believe that I have never actually did a movie with him, but I've never done a movie. But I've done so much with Mad Monster with him because he's done so
That's
much for them. But
I'm such a fangirl. So yeah, I love Tom Savini. I love all the work he's done. He's done amazing work.
Speaking
Like
of
with anyways,
well,
keep going, B.
speaking of horror and Mad
Yes.
Monster, early 2000s, like your resume is full of
Hmm.
horror and just like gory stuff. Let's talk a little bit about those real quick.
Yes.
Because how do you like? Do you have more fun doing the horror, or do you prefer horror over like something
Or do you
like
prefer
Lucifer or
fantasy?
Dead to Me?
I prefer horror. I much rather be up at 2 o'clock in the morning, covered in blood, doing low budget. It's just that there's no money in it. I remember I was working on the Prestige. Hey, Prestige,
Oh,
and
Oh,
and Scott, who I work with all the time now, it's like, "Mark, why don't you stay on the?" Because I had to leave the show to do House of the Dead 2, and I go, "No, I want to go do the zombie." He goes, "Mark, you're on the Prestige. There's David Bowie right there. Here's some of the
yeah.
greatest actors of our time. You're working with them. Who are you working with?" Dean Cain. He was Superboy at one time.
Superman.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Clark. He was
But
he was Clark for Lois and Clark.
but
Yeah.
but I think why like I say, I'd be doing it. Like, I just got a phone call from my friend Nicky, who lives in Georgia. So he shows me a picture. Next week he's starting the new Exorcist movie at the Blumhouse. I'm like, "Ah." He
Wow.
goes, "Come and join me." I go, I won't be able to join you for a couple of weeks, brother. But it's going to be really low budget, and I just can't do it unless it's a friend, or unless it's my project. I just can't afford to do those kind of films anymore.
Mhm.
And I do
So what
try
is
to do
it?
friend projects, but I miss it.
What is it about horror? And I guess it depends on the type of horror, but what is it about horror that draws you to it over some other genres?
I don't know. I'm just a fan of. I've always been a fan of, like, my idea job would be a horror host on some
Mm.
public access channel. I would love to do that.
You'd probably
I'm,
be great at it too.
I would get in
You
the
seem like you
wheelchair
would.
ready for next week so I could go Universal Studios, haunt, Knott's Scary Farm's huge. I love Knott's Scary Farm. And it's not like I don't get scared. And when I do get scared, I'm like, wow, good job. But it's just the atmosphere, the look, the feel. There's something about horror that I've always loved, and I have been in positions that, because of my knowledge of horror, has either got me in trouble, or been at, like, in Halloween, Rob Zombie's Halloween. Uh, there's a scene where Michael Myers uh, kills the one girl's boyfriend and kills her,
Hmm.
or is killing her, and it cuts back to Laurie Strode babysitting, and then it cuts back to him killing uh, the baby's, I mean, the her friend again. And Rob turned to me and goes, what do you think of this scene? And I go, what? Rob, Michael Myers coming back and killing? I go, it never really happened before, and it might have now with the new zombie films. I mean, the new
Hmm.
Halloween films, but it had. I go, not really his style, but I think it's going to be cool. You have your own look, your own style, kind of thing. He goes, no, I agree. I always just felt weird about it. I needed that voice. He goes, we're cutting the scene, and I look over at the AD and, like, where's behind the scenes camera? I'm telling Rob Zombie not to. There's a lot of people, friends of mine, who wish I told Rob Zombie not to make Halloween. I like Halloween a lot.
What is Rob
I
Zombie like anyway? Because I know
Yeah.
you worked quite a bit with him.
I did Devil's Rejects, and I did not. I wasn't on the whole time for Devil's Rejects, but I did the Firefly shootout. I was the prop master for the last day, but I was there for a while. He's a sweetheart, really good
Oh,
guy,
this
but
is
he's really nice. The problem he has is he's got all these people wanting to be part of that. They want to hang out and party with him and stuff, and he wants to make a movie. And I
hmm
know I love people. He was this nice. I was walking down the hallway with two chairs, and at Smith Grove Hospital, and he comes and goes, let me take one of these chairs. I go, no, I'm not going to have the director Rob Zombie take a director's chair, because I go, I got it. He goes, you sure? Yeah. So I mean, he was willing to help me. Kind of touch the kind of guy he is. But my problem with Rob Zombie is, like, an AD would, I mean, a PA would say something like, oh, I think he should have two knives instead of one. And he'll go, well, wait, let me think about it. And he'll think about, what this PA had told him, thinking, will that work? If it does, he uses it. And if it doesn't, it
that's
doesn't.
amazing.
But no,
Wow.
he's a nice guy, and I loved being on set with him.
Yeah, so Let's
Uh,
Create asked about Freddy Krueger. Have you ever worked on any of the Nightmare on Elm Street
No,
films?
no, I wish
And
I did. Although I've worked with Robert Englund a couple times, I did. He directed a movie called Killer Pat,
my heart.
and uh, uh, and uh, I got to do that with him. It was funny because he told me a story, like your friend with the piranha, and I was like looking at him like, is he pulling my leg? I was doing a remake called 2001 Maniacs, and I was really one of those. It was at Sable Ranch, which I was just
Hmm.
at too. And I had just finished Devil's Rejects, and Kane Hodder was the stunt coordinator on Devil's Rejects, and I had told Eli Roth, who really was the director of Devil's Rejects, wasn't the other guy, but I go, hey, so on the other side of the hill here, Kane's there. Um, they're not using Kane in Freddy versus Jason, but
Hmm.
we should use him because he has such a big fan following. Because in the remake, Robert Englund plays this evil Southern guy, and
Hmm.
And so Eli Roth goes, "Oh yeah, yeah." And now that was weird because I thought, because I swore he told me he had never met Rob. So I took Eli Roth over there to meet Kane, and Rob's like, "Sure, he could do that. He could do that." And so we did. There's a great scene in Devil's Reed. I mean, 2001 Maniacs, where they're facing off for just for a second, looking at each other. And I mean, they've worked with each other a lot since then, but it was just like for the fans kind of thing. And Eli Roth had posted that, I did this for the fans and stuff. And when I went to work to interview with Robert England for Killer Pad. He told me that, oh yeah, I worked with Kane. In fact, I got him to be on. And like, you, no, no, Eli Roth had put, I got Kane to go. No, I don't. No, whatever, let it go. But then when I talked to Kane for that haunt thing we did, I think it's the haunting of Balsam.
Hmm.
Mhm.
You guys look it up. Um, uh, it's really creepy. And Kane's legit, ghost hunter kind of guy, and everything is real that happens. But he told me that he thinks Rob's never talked to him since then, and he thinks it's because he did that left and did that cameo. So I was like, oh man, I was like all excited about this, and now everybody else did it, and I got blamed for it by Kane. So it's kind of a wacky story.
Robert
Woo!
Englund is one of my big actor people, so it's awesome
You,
that you know him.
you
It's
ever see
great.
Big Wednesday? You ever see the movie Big Wednesday?
I
Mhm.
haven't I
Surf movie?
haven't seen it. That I
When you
recognize
watch it,
it.
he's in it. He's a surfer, and he does the
Awesome.
voiceover, and it's Robert England. And whenever he'd get upset, like, I wanted the lights here. We're supposed to be shooting here. Where's the key grip? Me, me and my buddy Nick Principe would come running on set, and I have this big grin because he sounded like Freddy Krueger, and he'd go, and screw you, prop guys. Yeah, I know why you're laughing. Because he sounds when he gets angry. Not that he was a dick on set, but he sounds like Freddy Krueger. My prop guy, Nick Principe, the effects guy was a guy named Robert Hall who just passed away recently. Who was a great
Hmm.
effects guy. I did Sarah Connor Chronicles with him. Um, he loved my assistant so much that he put him on his film, and they're called Lay to Rest. He's called Chrome Skull. He wears a camera on him and a Chrome Skull. But he now he signs autographs because he was my prop assistant.
That's
Some stories
amazing.
for you.
Actually,
Yeah, I can always tell when. Sorry, go ahead.
you worked
But
with Lena Headley on you mentioned Terminator.
Yeah, the
You
Sarah.
worked with Lena Headley. What was that like? Because she went on to do Game of
Game of
Thrones
Thrones,
later.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
she is
And she also
wonderful.
did Dread as well. She's on Dread.
Yeah, she was great in Dread. She also did Laid to
Great in
Rest,
Dread.
uh,
Hmm.
Hmm.
Robert Hall's film. But yeah, she's fantastic. She was done with the show. I mean, we had the writer's strike. We had so many problems on that show. And if you watch the pilot episode, it looks like a movie. It's great, but it got to the point where it went from like massive gun scenes to her sitting at Starbucks going, "We really should kill some Terminators sometime." You know, she, she. I knew when we got
Yeah,
like the
when
back
they're going
13,
downhill.
she was really upset. And when the show ended, though, she contacted me to help her with a comedy. She wanted to start directing comedy bits. And I was like, hell yeah. And so I go over there and we're talking, little funny, wacky bits. And like, she's talking to me. She wants this cat lady that has so many cats. She thinks she's a cat. I'm like, yeah, we can make her bed look like a giant kitty litter. I'm all excited about it. Next week, she gets a phone call for Game of Thrones. Like,
Oh
she goes,
wow.
she goes,
Oh.
I got it. I can't do this. I got a new show. And she goes, but Mark, you're going to hate me. And so when I was watching Game of Thrones, I go, wow, I hate her. But
Hmm.
she's wonderful.
Hmm.
I loved her. I loved
She
all those
did
folks.
great. I there's so many questions I want to
You
ask.
work on Terminator 2. Did you work on those robots on Terminator? Is what they're
Shoot, no,
asking.
I didn't work on Terminator 2. I worked on Sarah Connor Chronicles, the TV show. I
Mhm,
loved.
yeah.
I will tell a Terminator Salvation story real quick. How
Okay.
we doing? Are we cool with me just babbling on
We're
with
we
my
can
Oh,
we
we
can
love
go
it.
over
It's
my,
great.
if
my
you're willing to go over
painkillers?
time. If
Um,
you want to go over time, we can go over time. If you're done, I'll say
no,
cool.
I'm on painkillers, and I'm not sure what my wife had made me in my Exorcist cup, by the way.
Oh, that's
Um,
Ooh.
um,
we're yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
we had a scene where this Cromartie was a Terminator, uh, he had to make this Lego project, and we had him make this volcano out of Legos and stuff, and moved around and stuff, pieces would fall off, and I was outside of our stage hot gluing Lego pieces on it, and right next door to us was where they were filming Terminator Salvation, and I'm horrible with names, but I I want to say he plays like he played a major part in that, but he was also the Chekhov in Star Trek, the new Star Trek.
Oh,
Do you know what
Oh,
yeah.
the actor is?
Anton Yelchin. Anton
Yes.
Yelchin.
Yeah, he comes walking up and he is like amazed by this Lego thing and goes on this whole thing about how he was a latchkey kid and that Lego saved his life and this is the reason
Mm.
that kept his head together and stuff like that. And he was just we sat and talked for a good half hour and finally a PA walks by and "Oh, we have him out here. He's out here. They're waiting on the camera's waiting on. He goes, oh, I'm so sorry, and he left. That was the only time I got to talk to the guy. But just I fell in love with him, sweetheart of a guy, and it was such a weird death. The guy got. I
Yeah,
couldn't believe that happened.
it was a shame because I've seen him in a few things, and yeah, everything I've seen him in, like he had so much potential. He was
So
really
good.
great.
So
And
good.
and they're
He was
asking
very
which
artistic.
Terminator. So to clarify, it was the 2008-2009 show that was pretty short lived, but it was incredible. And apparently, Game of Thrones
Yes.
killed that show. Oops.
Well,
Well, no, it seemed like it was just wasn't it the isn't it the writer strike going around? Because I know it affected a lot of
that
shows at that
that
time in
happened.
2008, 2009.
We came back after the writer's strike, but they had cut our budget, and that's the reason
Hmm.
why there was hardly, like I would be
It
on.
happened on
I
Heroes as
went into
well.
the writers' room. I literally went. I'm going to get fired after this. If anyone sees this, I went into the writers' room and on chalk I went, "Let's talk more guns." Because it was all just them talking of, wow, what we could do is we could probably get guns, and if we had guns, we could kill that guy right there. No, you have guns. We have guns everywhere. And John Connor be
Suddenly a
running down the
comedy.
pier, running down the pier. There's scene. We hit an earthquake that day, but we're at Santa Monica Pier, and John Connor's crying, running down the pier, and the Terminator's chasing him, and he's going to jump off the pier. And I go to the director and I go, Terminators don't run after people; they shoot them. He should pull out a gun and be firing it. And he goes, oh, you're right. So I was like, good. And so, yeah, he pulls out a gun and chases them firing the gun, which is a lot better than them both running down doing this Benny Hill, kind of thing down the hill.
It's
But yeah,
Monty Python does Terminator.
yes, it was exactly that. He was walking all weird, but yeah, there was a lot of
That's
that.
great.
Because of the budget cuts, but blanks only cost 50 cents each. I mean, even machine guns you can run through, it's still not that bad. And yeah, they started cutting all that only because of budget reasons and stuff. But Lena was done with it. She was done. But I loved working. I loved working with Summer. I loved everybody on that.
Summer
Was great.
Glau.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
she was
So you
fantastic.
were also the prop master on Firefly. Did I hear that correctly?
No, no,
Or
I
was it
was not.
Serenity?
I
Okay.
didn't. I did
This
neither
is
one of those.
adjacent.
My
Okay.
assistant from
You
Power
just
Rangers was the
now we're getting to
assistant.
Power Rangers.
Yeah,
Finally, no.
he did props. Yeah, he was the prop assistant on that.
Mhm.
And yeah, I would have loved to have worked on all that stuff, but I never did. Worked on Angel, and somehow that
Oh, that's
kind of
pretty great.
kind of works its way over there. But yeah,
Wow, what was that working? Because I literally just rewatched that show. It's like, gosh, it's been what, 20 years?
What
What was that
seasons
like
did you
working
work
with
on it?
Angel?
Yeah.
what show are we talking
What
about?
season?
You said
Angel.
Angel?
Oh,
What seasons did you work on it?
the last three, I did all this. I did a lot of the second unit stuff, the late night stuff.
Okay.
wow.
But
Oh.
David, he was nice. He,
Oh, I love the way you just said nice. Oh
well, there'd be
man.
like,
Was
I'd
he
show up and
intense?
there'd be like some kind of gadget or whatever. I can't remember, but they only had one, and I'm going to give this to David Morales and I go, hey David, I know you don't know me that well, but I'm the prop guy here. Um, we only have one of these. And he goes, really? Really? You only have one? Why would you only have one of these? I'm like, I'm doomed. But he was that kind of a cat. He was definitely a character, but a good guy. I'm not bad mouthing any of these people. None of these people. Believe me,
No,
if I
not at
wanted to bad
all.
mouth him, I would. But he
Yeah.
was a nice guy. I enjoyed.
You're being honest, and I
Is
find that
he
very refreshing. It's
was
nice.
he as much of a joker as reports say? Because I hear
Yeah,
he loved
Yeah.
his jokes.
yeah, very much so.
Oh yeah, yeah. Is anything sticks out as far of a memory
That's
of?
the only thing that really stuck out to me is that one prop that I just knew I was going to break, and I was going to be in the back room with hot glue and hot stuff and kicker and everything else trying to make it work, which was a
Oh
lot of
my
talk
gosh.
about Power Rangers. All that stuff was nothing but
Oh
hot glue
yes.
and that stuff because I don't, I'd only have time to make one, and stunt guys would just tear those things apart.
What
And
was your? Sorry, do
so
you want to go first, Keith?
I mean, it was the '90s anyway. So 1996 to 2002 was when you worked on Power Rangers.
Was it
So
96? I thought it came out in 93.
96.
I'm
Well,
gonna
It,
he.
say
I started
because
in
that's first
'92,
season.
and we went
That's
till
what I
Oh,
two.
thought.
okay.
It
Yeah.
went till 2000 with all the other
Okay.
shows.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's
you're
okay, V.
credited.
It's
You're
okay, V. You get a
credited.
pass.
Well, no, you're credited on IMDb at starting on 96 is what it is. So I was
That's
apparently
so
Yeah,
93.
strange.
I think
I
I
should have
need to.
checked.
I need to make some phone calls. I've never contacted IMDb, but
Mhm.
they have put some kind of funky things. People that I
Because
brought in as a
yeah,
day player, they put as prop master. I was like, what? How
Mhm.
does that?
because I remember watching it when I was dating myself. I was in third grade, so and that was in '93.
Yeah,
So that's how I know.
I have those moments where I talk to people and I have to, step back and go, how old
Mhm.
am I? If like other people, oh yeah, I was 12. It's like, oh my god, oh whatever. I
That's why
used
I've
to,
got
I
Aubrey
used to
here
when I
because I've.
well, I live in Huntington Beach, and like the pickup line for girls, like because you if you live in Huntington Beach, you have to won at least one surf contest, and I had won the West Coast Surfing Championship, and I remember this one girl going, "Oh really? Well, what year was that?" I go, '79, and she goes, "I wasn't even born yet," and get up and walk away. I think I'm going to leave that date out of my whole story. There,
Oh, that's
not
so
that
funny.
impressive.
But yeah,
How did you
it's
get involved in the
yeah. How
first
did you?
place with
Yes,
Power Rangers?
exactly.
Jim
That's what I
Jim Lotfi, I'd done a bunch of just a string of really painfully low budget films for a guy named Jim Lotfi, and he had done the pilot, and he had told Yuta Aku, who's the production designer at the time, he goes, I got a guy that makes his own props, and I didn't know you're not supposed to make your own props back then. He's doing low budget things. You make your own props. You they don't. I don't have money to send it out and do effects. People to do that. And so I was doing weapons for PM Entertainment, and he kept calling me, going, "I need to interview you. We start in 2 weeks. I need to interview." And I was doing all these night shoots on PM, and I can't get over there. Finally, I got a phone call from Yuta saying, "Listen, if you want the job, start tomorrow. If you don't, I don't want to talk to you again." And so I went there and got the job. And I remember like everybody on the show was like, "This is going to last a week." And they gave me a videotape to watch. I'm watching this thing going, "This is the greatest thing I've ever seen. This is going to be phenomenal. It's giant monsters. You got like guys running around like Ultraman. This is going to be fantastic." And
Oh yeah, and
I
it's such a
turned I turned to all the Rangers and I said, we were in Bronson Cave, and it was all of them, the first Rangers said, "This time next year, next Halloween, every kid's going to want to be you guys. You guys are going to be
it's true.
you're going to be a household name." And they're like, "No, we're not. No, no." Okay, well, sign these scripts. So I had them sign. I had them signing scripts. I had them signing everything because I knew it was going to make me some money someday. Except I sold them way too cheap. Those scripts are going for
Everything
like,
has it.
Oh,
oh my god, those
that's such a
scripts are going for
shame.
thousands of dollars now. I was selling them for like $100, and yeah, they're going for thousands of dollars now. I almost got fired because of it. Haim Saban,
Oh,
somebody from Saban, found out that I was selling them to like comic stores, and they weren't scripts. They were scripts that we had already shot. It's not like I was giving stuff that nobody knew about. But Haim Saban called up Jonathan Zakor and said, "You need to fire the prop master immediately." And
yeah.
and I don't know why he stuck up for me. Him, Jonathan,
Oh.
and Chip Lynn were the two people they stuck up for me, and they never. They should have fired me. And in all honesty, I've done far worse on that show. I should have been fired years ago.
So
I can't. Yeah.
did you come up with all of the weapons, or did they give you the like the design ideas and then you came up with that based on that?
No, it was nothing like that. A lot of the weapons were already uh, prefabricated from Japan,
Okay.
and so we had them. We used the toy from Bandai Toys for their morphers and their
Hmm.
guns. I think if you look at the early Power, all the way the first couple seasons, they have the Japanese version of the toy gun that they had.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't make that stuff. I go, let's just use a toy, which I think works because
Did
if you're a kid and you
actually.
love Batman and they come out with Batman's utility belt, especially back then, everything's really small. You could actually get the morpher, although we didn't realize that because when we put our stickers on it, we didn't realize ours was upside down. And so the American morphers are upside down, and the Japanese ones are the right way, of course. But
Oops.
it wasn't.
That is amazing.
Yeah. Oh, I got tons of those things. But as far as the
um,
hero, I mean, I made the communicator. Well, Yuda Aku and I made the communicators. Yuda and I went shopping. We picked out a bunch of watches, and he had me throw them together.
so you're
I
saying third season is when you upped when all of the props got better. I'm not going to say they were worse or better, but that's when you guys got more of a budget to do
Yeah, that
like
was.
real fabricated
Yeah, and but still,
fabrication.
I mean, I don't know. I think it was Power Ranger Rescue. I had to make, although they're wearing all Starship Trooper vests and helmets on planets.
Yes,
Good, there's
uh,
oxygen.
I did not really watch Rescue to be fair,
Okay, but
but
and I still made all the weapons for that. Like I was still making the guns. When it got into that stuff, I had a lot of say as far as the guns.
mhm.
But they let me do that. But I enjoyed doing it myself back then. And uh, it's funny because like I say, I was at Morphicon and the guy that runs it now, he gave me a box of some of my old stuff. I'm like, open it up, and the what was it? It was Lost Galaxy, but you could,
That's what I was thinking. Lost out, yeah.
yeah, it's a like half a Nerf gun and half a water bottle. But you put them together and they look like badass. It was a badass gun. But yeah,
Hmm.
like and, when people look at it, it says the gallons on the gun and stuff like that. So but as far as that stuff goes, I had, the reason why we couldn't fabricate anything a lot of the times was because I didn't have the time. I was getting
Hmm.
scripts, on a Thursday and we'd be shooting it on Friday. I usually had 3 days to prepare for an episode, and so I would just rush out and throw stuff together. And I always make a joke about it. Luckily, you know, uh, shower radio, and a slinky with a flashlight stuck to it, painted Billy Blue will save the earth. Because I just and they didn't
Were
really
you a big
criticize.
fan of the character that played Billy?
What's that?
Or Billy? Were you really a big fan of Billy's
I
character?
was a big fan of all of them. I was a
Okay.
big fan of all those actors.
Or I said that so wrong. Of the
But yeah,
character Billy.
yeah, David Yost, and
Yeah.
no, I love David. I love, I still see him. I still talk to everybody. Amy Jo is the only one that I don't ever talk to, but I'm sure, because she's gone on. The reason I see these other people because they come to these conventions.
So
But
you still talk to the original Red Ranger? I can't remember his name at the moment, but
Austin,
the guy that plays Jason, Austin. Yes. Do you
yeah,
still
yeah,
see Austin?
just spoke with him 2 weeks ago. He wants me to make some belt buckles for him.
I'm so jelly.
Yeah, he's a
Um,
sweetheart, nice guy.
he
He looked
yeah.
like Elvis when he was young. When he first came on that show, it's like he looks like
He's
Elvis.
great. I don't know why they replaced him. It was
No,
probably that was one of
he
the saddest moments when they
because they
replaced the three original Rangers. I was
because people were
very sad.
fighting. Jingle All the Way is about the Power Rangers. People
Hmm.
were fighting in the toy stores over these toys. They had their faces on it, and they said, we should be making a little bit more money. They're still non-union. They're still making maybe, like $500 an episode. They were making no money, and so they go, you know what?
Yeah, they really should have
We're
been
all over the
getting paid
place.
more.
We want more money. And Haim Saban went, okay, you're gone. So he just fired him.
Oh,
So,
yeah, that's yeah, and I think that's really unfair because they did so much work on
uh,
the series. They really carried a lot of the series, even if the writing wasn't as great. And I've heard a
yeah,
lot of stories from David not Jason David Frank, but I think the guy that played Billy. I've heard a lot of,
Yes,
yeah,
I hear stuff too. But I
his
didn't.
some of his negative experiences, and
Yeah, I
it's
don't
sad.
know. And David, if you hear this, I love you, and I'm not bad mouthing you. I was there when he walked off. I was there every day, but when he walked off set, and I was like, he walks by me, and what's that all about? He was at the command center and left, and then I hear that like people were making fun of him because he's gay, and I was like,
Just so wrong. It
what? But who would do that? I'll tell you, Chip, who ended up I don't know if he's running it now, but all the way up to Nickelodeon, Chip Lynn was the new showrunner. Chip Lynn is the
mm,
kind of gay guy that would kick your ass if you said something like that. You would not say that on set. And I dig Chip. He's just a really nice, happy guy. But you don't talk that way, and nobody did. I never heard anyone say anything. The only thing we have, one of our makeup artists, I think his name was Carlos, had said, and I overheard this. Um, and I overheard it from him, from the horse's mouth. Uh, the reason why he's getting lines in his face is because he won't come out of the closet. He's hiding that he's gay. I was like, wow, he's gay, and but Carlos was extremely gay, but very very upfront gay kind of thing. That was the
hmm
only time I ever found it. Because I never thought I didn't think he was gay. I didn't think nothing of it.
I mean, I've heard that like he got lines cut. He there were a lot of things like it was never on like out to his face, but there were things that were happening. Like he would get a script and then he would go on set and things were cut. And
Well,
again, this is all rumor. This is basically what I've
yeah,
heard
I never heard
from.
that. It could have happened. I could have been oblivious to it and stuff. It's funny because I at these Power Ranger conventions, I still have the molds for the original coins, and so I make the
Mhm,
coins and I sell them there, and I also have my
it's
name on it.
amazing.
But I'm amazed by how many black, blue Power Rangers there. You think everybody? So Zach was my guy. I love Zach. Zach was the
Zach is
coolest
my
out
guy.
of all of them.
He is the
But
coolest. I
I was
agree.
just like, and I'd always ask him why, and they go, well, because he had to fight for his the way he was, and they took it to this weird level that the old white guy got like, what? I just never saw it that way. But yeah, there's a huge Billy following because of and I think it has a little
hmm
bit to do with the fact that he was gay and was able you know to deal with that while he was gay. But I don't know anything about it because it was all out of my
Right. I mean, you're the prop guy, and this is a lot of the politics on script. I will say that the Austin and the guy that played Zach, they were probably my favorites. And of course, until the Green Ranger came on, Jason David Frank
that bastard.
came on. Ah! Ah!
No, I love him. He out of all of them, he's the one I'm in touch with more than anyone.
Yeah, he
You know.
I got to see his return on Dino
Oh, really?
Power Rangers Dino
Dino
Force.
Thunder.
That's what Dino Thunder, that's what it
Yeah.
is. And it was great. It was great seeing him again. And on the show, like I've never met him in person, but he's one of those people I'd love to meet in person
He's a
because
sweetheart. He's really
he's
good. He's going through
yeah.
some stuff. He's a
So
good
the
guy.
chat
So,
is asking what
yes.
is when you fabricate or mold. Can you explain a little bit about that, especially in relation to when you were creating the props for
Everything
Power
I did
Rangers.
fabrication wise, as far as molds go, it was just
Mhm.
silicone molds. Any effects you could go online and find out how to do it. I wouldn't do complicated ones. I wouldn't do A/B molds. I'd do it as simple as possible. Like if we needed a jewel, a lot of times I would just use bondo or clay and stuff it in clay and put resin in it and pop it out.
I was
There was
gonna
a
ask if you use resin. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, the most of everything I do is a resin for resin molds and stuff because all that's just an A and a B pour. You pour it in, and there it is.
hmm
Everything. Cause I'm not a fabricator. I just, I was just, I wasn't creative on the show. It was made. Everything was made out of necessity. I had to make it, and I try to
Okay.
make it cool, but it's not what I do. But on that show, and it, I had done it before, like when you work for Troma or even Roger Corman, all these really low budget shows. Um, it's expected of you to do all that stuff. But when you
hmm
get on bigger shows, it's not. On shows now, basically, well, I haven't, they'll the director or the line producer the showrunner will all talk about what they want. It'll come down to either me. Usually, it comes down to Scott Buckwald, and Scott tells me to go to SAT at ISS and have them fabricate it. And usually, it's out of my hands anyway. They all take care of it now.
So
But
I have one. Sorry,
back then
go
it
ahead.
wasn't that way. Back then it was like we need a devices. We need a bomb that's going to destroy the world. We need it now.
Wow, that's amazing. I have one question, and really, this is because Let's Create brought it up earlier and get a chance. Have you ever worked on Star Trek?
Nope, never worked on. I've got
Oh,
stuff from
that's
Star
okay.
Trek. A lot of my friends have never worked on Star Trek.
He also asked if you worked on Ultraman. I know you didn't, but were
My
you?
roommate did. My roommate was working on Ultraman
Ultraman's
when I
great.
was doing Power Rangers. And in fact, I found like an Ultraman helmet. I go in my storage bin whenever I'm not working and dig out stuff and sell it on eBay. But a Ultraman helmet from a fast cast, I found that in the garage, and some artwork like drawings from Ultraman. But yeah, I never worked on it.
Were you a
Been
fan
on the
of?
set.
Were
What's that?
you a fan of Ultraman? Because I know they have a connection, Ultraman and
Yeah.
Power
I
Rangers.
think, yeah. I mean, anyone that's into any kind of Japanese movies, you're a fan of that whole
Hmm.
look. I love Ultraman. I love, you know, uh, I love. I'm a huge Godzilla fan. And
Yeah, there's
when
some
I
really
started it,
great Japanese big
yeah,
monster anime. There's a Neon Genesis Evangelion, and there's Bioman, which is fantastic.
yeah.
Which unfortunately often gets overlooked.
My both, all three of my son and my two daughters are very much into those type of anime things and stuff like. And I watch. I'm just blown away by how good it is. So good.
Hmm.
Of all the props that you worked on, do you have a favorite that you worked on that you think like, gosh, that was a good prop?
I need to. So I haven't watched this show for so long. I need to look at that stuff to see. I mean, I have props that I dig only because, like, on Prana 3D, there's Richard Dreyfuss is dressed like Cooper from Jaws, and he reaches down into the water and pulls up his beer, which is Amity beer, and it's got a really pretty girl on a raft, just like in like as our bow to Jaws, but Richard Dreyfuss wasn't there for the underwater camera shot, and so it's my arm pulling up that beer bottle, and so I have that beer bottle. In Queen of the South, I had to make a really good. Well, I didn't. I shouldn't say good. But I had to make a voodoo doll. I made that. I'm proud of that. It's really creepy. On Switch at Birth, my friends at Mad Monster did a magazine cover because, well, but they had there's a scene where Leah Thompson is with her daughter and they're bonding over horror films, and uh, well, I got to tell this real quick. We're in a production meeting, and of course, horror films. I'm lit up, and I'm looking over at Scott, and there and in the script it was called The Bloody Sisters even, and Scott goes, uh, "Did we shoot this? Is something that you guys are shooting?" And they go, "No, we're just going to get public domain and just real quick cuts and stuff." And Scott goes, and this is my Prana 3D guy. He goes, "Well, Mark and me, we shot a movie that would work perfect for this if you'd like to see it." And I'm looking at him like, what movie did we shoot that's Bloody Sisters? And I'm all like, yeah, I think you guys would enjoy it. Maybe we should bring it in. And the line producer's like, oh yeah, well, bring it in. If we like it, we'll use it. And we're walking out of the room, and I go, what what movie did we ever shoot that would work for this movie? He goes, I don't know, but we better shoot it this weekend. So I grabbed my kids, he grabbed his kid, and we did a quick little horror film, and we brought it in. It was a holiday, so we had Monday off, and we brought it in Tuesday and showed it to them. And they go, well, this is perfect. It's it's almost like you guys made it for this, kind of thing. But I enjoy that because it's something I made with my kids, and that made it. There's a tragedy one where I can't believe this happened to me. Later on, they're going to do a thing at a miniature golf course to save this miniature golf course, and they're going to do like a movie in the park. And Switch to Birth has a big, still does, deaf community that watches the show because we have
Mhm.
Marlene Matlin, we had a lot of deaf
Mhm.
actors, and so somebody established down the line a movie called Defenstein, and we had made posters and lobby cards for it, but it never existed. And the line producer came up, not the line, the showrunner came up, John Stupin, it's been a while, comes up and goes, "Hey, really liked your Bloody Sisters thing. If we give you some money, would you like to shoot like, I don't know, 4 minutes of Defenstein so they could be watching the park?" Like, hell yeah. So, they gave us a week to shoot it. We threw everything together, made it, did it in black and white, soundtrack, everything. We had effects in it and everything else, and brought it to them, hoping that they would use it. And they go crazy for it. They go, "This is fantastic." They wanted to when the DVD set came out, they wanted to do the whole movie, and they wanted me and Scott to write and direct it. And this is the greatest. This is fantastic. We get a call 2 days later. We get called into the office, and they go, "We have to get rid of the movie." And I go, "Why?"
Oh,
"Because you used a non-union crew on a union lot." And I'm all like, pro union, but I think it was our camera department complained about it, and I even talked to them before they grieved us. I even said, "Listen, this was just something, to pat us on the back. So, we're doing props. This is, a chance for us to do something cool." And yeah, they kept saying, "We didn't do it. We didn't do it." But yeah, they're like, they told me, "No, this is exactly who did it." It was a heartbreaker because I was like so excited about this thing. But that movie exists. I think I'm gonna put it online someday when, But yeah, that was awesome.
when the
But
copyright goes out.
I love that movie. I love that movie. It never made it, but I love that movie. I think The
I want to see
Communicators
it.
too. I love The Communicators.
Oh, that'd be amazing. I'd love to see it.
There's a question. Do you have to go through special training as a prop master to become one?
Jack of all trades, the master of just
Yeah.
That's a very succinct answer there. I
you have
love
to
it.
know a little bit about everything because a lot of times you have to bullshit your way through, but you kind of have to know a little bit of everything. So,
It feels like the cosplayers are kind of catching up to in the last few
Hmm.
years, catching up to you guys. They're like, we're on to you now.
every time I do any kind of a convention, people come up to me to show me what they've created, and I'm blown
Oh,
away. It's so good,
oh,
so good, and yeah, I mean now with 3D printers and everything that they have at their disposal, they just
amazing.
it's just fantastic. And I'm stoked. I'm stoked that people go, like you were the inspiration for me to make, cool.
I mean, that must be one of the best like feelings in the world to be like, I inspired people. Is that how you feel about that? Is that just one of the
Yeah,
greatest joys, or?
yeah, I think it's cool that I mean, even back in the day, I would get letters, where kids have taken their father's cordless drill and put a flashlight to it and taped it together. And, what do you think? I was like, nice. That got me in trouble one time. I was at a swap meet
Mm.
looking for something really cool, and I found this board that had dowels and gadgets, and it looked 50s futuristic. It looked Art Deco, and I loved it. I painted Billy blue, and I had Billy every time you come to the fan center, you have it doing the knobs. The Church of Scientology sent a letter to cease and
Uh-oh.
desist using their their not their
Oops.
pastors. What it's used for is it's like I guess they channel into you and tell you what's the best
Dianetics.
thing for it to be it's all Dianetic. Billy had been a Scientologist
No.
this entire time. I had no idea.
Oh
Great,
no.
cool looking board. I loved it. I don't know what happened to that, but they accused me of stealing it. I'm like, I didn't steal it. I bought it $5 at a swap meet.
It's a prop.
Right? It's a.
Prop.
Oh
So
man, this has been
I
such a.
it's I know it'd be hard to choose, but do you have of all of your projects, do you have a favorite one that was particularly like wow?
Yeah, it's really hard. I mean, I loved, Power. I loved it, but I I really, really, really loved Queen of the South. It, I I don't know everything about that show, the people on it, the crew. I got to go around, all over Texas, all over New Orleans, all over the place doing this. I think it was my most exciting job out of
Mm,
all of them. I enjoyed that the most. I also really love doing, Like my friend, like a friend will call me up, hey, we're going to come down and be a detective for a scene in a movie. I enjoy doing that with my friends. I still love just showing up and doing it like a small part and stuff. But I think Queen of the South is probably my favorite show that I worked on.
And what made it stick out for you?
Just because it was badass, and it was, I got to make a lot of my own choices. Like they would just say, what kind of weapon would this guy have? What kind of weapon would this guy? And I got to be a big part of that. Me and Scott, I always say, but and even at that, like I was given a team, and I was given a truck full of props and weapons, and just sent out, and just I'd come back at the end of the week, and find out what I got to do next week. But I enjoyed that. It was a lot of fun.
Wow. And I we were talking about uh, Power Rangers earlier, but not many people know about that you were in Power Rangers. Did you want to? Well, we're wrapping up, and we're actually 30 minutes over time. Did you want to talk about that real quick before we wrap up?
Sure. I would do little bit parts at first. The Only because it's such a I was Lord Zed in Turbo only because they didn't want to fly Ed Neal from he was in New Zealand to California, so they shoved me in the suit, and I just remember I was like wrapped in like this Ed Neal carpet, and I remember just being I want out of this so bad, but I can't. Ed Neal jumps through explosions and fights, and all I had to do was lay in bed with uh, Rita and snore and rock back and forth, and I was scared out of my mind. I was so claustrophobic, but I existed through it, but
Hmm.
just and it was only because I wanted to say I was Lord Zed. I mean, Scott Page, who just passed away this year, was our sound editor, and he would throw me in there, and like he gave me, I think, in Wild Force, a monster named Serpicon. He gave me let me be the voice of a major monster at one point, which was cool. I mean, I was the taxi driver in Amy Jo Johnson's last TV episode, and my taxi turns into a monster. And I had dialogue in that. Had a I it came from Angel Grove. I talked them in one, shooting it in black and white, making it at night. And they go, well, what do you want to? You want to be something? I go, well, let me be a werewolf. So at the very beginning of the movie, I'm a werewolf in that stuff. But
Wow.
yeah, but it's that kind of a show. In trauma films, if you look at Nukem High 2 and 3, I play probably 50 characters in those films. We were constantly pulling off wigs, putting on gas masks. You know, it's what you did back then, and that's what when I first got into the industry, that's what I thought I was going. Well, I don't know if you want to call it an industry. When I first started making movies, that's what I thought it was going to be like. That I'd be in front and behind the cameras all the time. USA Up All Night, a guy named Rick Sloan, who I adore. Um, he makes these really great low budget films. He does like Vice Academy, and he'd make all these. But he'd always have. They gave me a production designer credit, which is not true, but I was a prop guy. But he would always use me and give me a fairly big part in those films, which was fun. And he was the only, well, no, PM did it too. This whole time I've been in nothing but really evil punk bands and really evil like Alice Cooper rock bands and stuff. And they would use like if you ever see Vice Academy, listen to the title track of that. That was one of my bands. In Nukem High 2, they wouldn't pay my band for the song, and so they refused to sign over the music, and so we're playing, but it's somebody else's music, some stupid song. And I tell my guys, just give it to them. With not this ain't gonna go anywhere. Just give it to them. But
You have a chance to be on, right? Like
yeah, I love it when I hear my stuff. And that album, but my first album, the Hypnotics, Endorphins, goes for like so much money now. I was like, and I used to throw them out to the kids in the pit. And they used to throw them back at me. So like that's worth, like I think they're worth $300 now.
That's
very
amazing.
cool. So we're wrapping up a little bit on time. They're asking what your current project is, which is you were just working on the Innocence before your surgery. I hope you heal quickly.
Thank you very
Yes.
much.
Please heal
Um,
quickly.
I'm probably going to work before that, but my next show is The Old Man. I'm going back to season 2. Watch that movie. You guys are going, wow, this is really good. Um, but that's with Jeff Bridges and John Lithgow, and just an unbelievable cast and very action packed, very cool film. And it's like watching a movie. It's so good. I can't believe they got that on TV.
Looks like we have a girls' night planned.
Yeah,
Maybe
right.
to watch it. Looks like we'll have to
Get
marathon
back
it.
to me. Tell me what you think.
I will.
Yeah.
I will. Thank you so much for joining us on this show. It has
I'll-
been a pleasure.
It's my pleasure. Anytime, guys.
An absolute honor.
And
having
if
you
anyone
here.
wants to contact you, find you, do you have anything that you want to plug or anything that you want to put up?
I should plug this. I mean, I have a page, a horror page, and every once in a while I'll sell props on it, and I'll make hysterical memes. Like I think today I did. The hills have googly eyes, and I put googly. I mean, stupid things like that. But it's horror icona. You spell out horror, ICANA, horror icona. Come join it, and I usually show some behind the scene footage of photos and wacky stuff or all right stories. It's my little man cave and on a computer there. But yeah,
Very
horror
cool.
icona kids, come on, join me. And you
Horror
could always
icona.
and anyone has any questions, you want to talk about any of these movies or something, or want to know some dirt on some actors, give me a call.
Cool. Thank you so much. Yeah, this has been really fun and so cool. And
So much
hopefully we'll
fun.
have you back soon because I'd love to talk about what the stuff that's coming out on Netflix hopefully soon. And talk
Mhm.
about whatever you're doing pretty soon.
You got it anytime. I enjoyed it. Maybe
Thank
I
you.
won't be on painkillers next night. I got to go back to this machine. It bends your leg back and forth, and
Oh
That's
goodness.
that's what I get to look forward to next. So
I timed it perfectly. I timed it like this is planned.
This is planned. Yeah.
I was going
Yeah,
to
you're
try to
brave.
do this
Now back
on
to
the
work.
machine, so you hear. Well, when I was working on Power Rangers, I was because it would go really tight and really low. But I thought, but it was a pleasure work, and I hope to do this again with you guys.
Yes,
Yeah,
thank you.
I hope
And
it's fun.
please stick around after we go to we end the show because we like to kind of stick around and chat for a few minutes. So
Sure.
if you want to stick around, we're going to close out. Everyone, thank you. Join us next
Thank
week.
you.
Nerdalism is going to every other week pretty soon because I'm going to be jumping on a couple of projects myself, and I'm going to be kind of quiet. So join us every week on Nerdalism, and we'll be adding more segments soon. So thank you, everyone, and have a good night.
Bye.